So we're here checking out your character's head. Lots of improvements since last time. So really good job on that. It's looking a lot better, a lot cleaner. Still a couple things to go over and address before you get too far. Firstly, we'll just look at some of the facial features here. I'm just on the nose. One of the things that I'm kind of noticing right away is right here how this kind of caves in on itself, okay? You can just see where the nostrils coming out here, and then just you can see where it kind of dips in just a little too far there, okay? So it's kind of folding this polygon over on top of itself. So you'll want to grab that and just move it out just a little bit. It doesn't have to be anything super dramatic, or you can move it this way as well if you want. But just make sure that it's not doing one of these kind of things where it's dipping into the nose, okay? So just pull that out a little. Everything else with the nose looks pretty good. Move that out a little bit as well if you want. Next thing we'll look at is the corner of the mouth here. You can kind of see this dark area. You might not be able to see this on the video, but if you check out your model, you'll see this kind of strange darkness coming out here, and that's actually because of some stretching that's going on. So if we turn this around, we can see where the next edge loop in. Okay, so we've got this edge loop here, and the next one in is actually, very far back from this one, okay? So this would be kind of a case of moving this up, and if you do move this up, you can see that it's actually further out than we want it to be. Okay, so you want to bring that in so that it's not actually over here and crisscrossing with the edge that should be further out from it, okay? And that's going to be kind of the same situation with these guys back here as well. Okay, you'll want to pull those up and over. Alright. Just so that they're a little bit more in line with their corresponding edge loops here, okay? Pulling it up, pulling it over. So, when you look at this from the front here, rather than seeing these kind of disappear and folded back behind these front polygons, you want to make sure that, if you can see it on the lips here, you should be able to see it over here at the corner of the mouth as well. And, you can shape these a little bit for the corner here. Just make sure that you can actually see them here, and that they're not hanging out way far in the back, okay? So it's one of those things where you just really want to keep your edge flow going nice and smooth. Even here on the inside of the mouth, where, people are probably not going to be looking, it does matter, it'll help you with your modeling, just to make sure that you're grabbing these kind of things and keeping them in some kind of organized fashion, okay? So next thing we'll kind of look at here is the edge flow around the mouth and spacing. So right here we've got this pretty flat line going on. Okay, you can see all the way across here, it's really flat. So this is, a moment when we'd really want to adjust this stuff to make a nice curve shape, okay? So obviously our mouth is not going to be flat like that. Alright, I'm just working on one side at the moment. So, you know, I'm not really worried too much about this side. You can work on just one side and then mirror over the other side afterwards, or you can try grabbing both sides at the same time and working with both, okay? I'll move that up just a little bit as well, so it's not quite so on top of the other one. I might also move these down a little bit, just to, again, you know, make sure I have some kind of a curve going on here, a curved shape. I want this to be a super flat line. Same thing up here, these are kind of all in a row. They're all making this really flat line. But another thing that you'll kind of notice here is your spacing. So you've got these nice little square guys right here, and then these big, really long, flat ones here. Okay, these polygons here are big old rectangles. So this is the kind of thing where you'll want to grab that. Make sure that you haven't accidentally grabbed anything on the back or anything like that. Alright? And you'll want to move something like that over a little bit. Okay? And the one next to it as well, and just, you know, move things up, move things over, move them around wherever they need to go so that they can make a nice curve. Okay? Now, obviously, when I move something like that over so dramatically, it's going to mean that I'm going to need to move some of this other stuff over as well. And again, you know, this is stuff we were going to have to move anyways because we've still got this really, really flat line where we should have a round, curved shape, okay? So, for example, you know, starting with this guy right here. We might want to move that over. Of course, if we move that over, we're going to have to move some of their nose stuff over. So I'm going to grab a few of those actually, and I'm just gonna move them over a bit. I can move this over as well to kind of compensate for that shape change that I made. And these guys. This. And I'll also move this over. I'm going to move this a little closer, I think. So you can see now I've got this kind of rounded out shape going on, and there's not quite so much of a difference in the spacing of my verts around here. Alright. Same thing here, you know, I may want to grab these as well and just move them a bit to kind of improve the spacing that we've got going on. Okay, because right now I've got some polygons that are winding up a lot bigger than their neighbors. Okay, and we want to kind of minimize that as much as we can. Just by trying to, you know, divide things kind of down the center line. All right. So something like that is going to work out just a little bit better. You know, these are pretty minor changes, but they really will improve the shape of your model and the look of it in the end. Okay. So there's that, and same thing on the bottom here. You know, we've got these pretty wide spaces here next to these little skinny polygons next to, again, this big wide space right here in the center. Okay, so you're looking at kind of the same thing again, where you're just wanting to space things out as evenly as you possibly can. When you're grabbing multiple verts like these, you should always be checking to make sure that you're not accidentally grabbing anything on the back of the model or anything else that you don't want to be grabbing. I'm not checking myself every time, just to kind of save time for the video here, but just so you know, you should be definitely checking that kind of stuff to make sure you don't accidentally pull any verts that you didn't mean to. Alright, so, this is the kind of thing that we'll want to definitely move up quite a bit. Okay. And just start moving things over to make your spacing as even as you possibly can make it. You don't want to have any super skinny polygons next to super thick ones. Alright, so that's going to improve the spacing over there just a little bit. Okay, you can kind of compare one side to the other. Alright. So let's take a look at our face in perspective mode here for a moment, just to find any other things we're looking at. We'll look at it from the side as well. Okay, so right here, the nose is getting kind of flat in this area, okay, where these are just kind of sort of swooping in at this point. So you will want to make sure you would avoid any super flat areas there. You can do that either by grabbing these guys on either side and pulling them back, or by grabbing the one in the middle and pulling it out. Okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to pull this back as well. And you can even do a combination of both of those things if you want to. And just kind of work on the nose shape. All right, that's going to help your nose look a little better. Looking at this from the side, your spacing is looking a lot improved on the side here, so this is pretty good. Only thing I might check on a little bit is just this bottom loop here that I might bring down just a little, just to keep the spacing slightly more even. Okay, but nothing too major there. Something you want to work on for sure is this area right here, okay, and on the back as well. You can kind of see where we've got these great big giant polygons, again, next to some really tiny skinny ones. So this is a really huge spacing issue. You definitely want to come in here and deal with this spacing. Alright. You want to pull these things over a lot. And just kind of readjust the positions of these lines. Make sure that you're still keeping fairly smooth curves going on. All right, you don't want to mess with any of your nice curves when you're doing this. But make sure that you've got kind of a happy balance between spacing and curves. All right. So here we've kind of, spaced things out a little more evenly. We'll want to make sure that our curves here are nice and smooth and round as well. Yeah, and I might even move things out a little over here to just kind of round out that shape of the head. All right. And these are really, just a lot of small adjustments. So it's nothing too crazy or major. And even this is looking, kind of a little square. So this is the kind of thing that I would probably pull out a little more. Just to give it a little rounder shape. Of course, when I do that, I want to adjust the shaping here as well. Okay. If I'm pulling this out, I'll want to pull my other curves back a bit as well to keep that spacing even. So, you know, this looks about right for one half of the skull there, at least from the top, okay? You know, my spacing is a little bit long right here, so, you know, I might move things around a little bit more just to keep working on that, but for now we're going to move on. So let's look at the back here as well. Okay, we've kind of moved things around up here, but, you know, the back is still looking pretty uneven. All right, so here as well, we'll need to come in and start moving things over. Especially down at the bottom here, where you can see there's, you know, this big giant gap and then lots of little skinny polygons here. So just make sure you're moving things over. And, you know, when you first move them over, there's going to be some problems because if you look at it from the side or from the top here, you can see how much it's pinching. All right. So it's also going to be a matter of moving things outwards, okay, when you're moving them in to keep them nice and round. So you'll want to make sure that you're looking at your curves from multiple directions. So you shouldn't see any kind of zigzaggy lines like this kind of thing going on where it's coming one direction and then jutting out in a different direction. Okay, so you want to make sure that things are progressing in a sort of round, curved way. Okay. So I'd recommend first moving things in one direction to roughly where you want them to be. Okay. And then after you've kind of got them where you want them to be from the one direction that you're looking at, then take a look at them from another angle. Okay. And then start moving them from that angle as well. Okay, in this direction. So mostly with your move tool here, you're just grabbing one handle at a time and just dealing with one direction at a time. Okay. So you can see already kind of how much rounder this is looking over here on the side, okay? And also you can see how the spacing has gotten a lot more even. And I'd really advise you to, you know, take a lot of care with this kind of thing. It's gonna take your model to the next level. So I'm not gonna mess with this area anymore. I think you get the idea. And as I said, the side is looking pretty good already, so don't worry too much about that. Take a look here at this kind of angle that you've got going on. Maybe just smooth that out a little bit if you can. Alright. And some of these over here as well, you may want to work on just smoothing out a bit. The bottom is going to need a lot of work, but it's going to be the same kind of thing where you're going to need to work on your spacing here, okay? So just work on your spacing from the bottom, okay? And also, on the side here, this is kind of dipping in, and your neck is going to be pretty round, okay? So you don't want this sort of inwards dipping and then coming back out to sort of a corner before coming around to the other side of the neck. And you can see the same thing is happening here as well. We've got the neck coming around, and then suddenly it's kind of swooping inwards, alright? So we definitely want to avoid that. We want to pull this out. These guys right here. We want to make a nice round neck shape. Okay, so if you look at it at an angle from about like this, you can see how we can sort of start to make something that's kind of round, like a neck. And not swooping inwards, okay? So just come around and work on this line, okay? This area here. So you just want to make sure that no matter which angle you're looking at this from, you're getting a nice, strong skull outline, okay? Helps to just keep looking at it from different angles, and anywhere you're seeing any zigzagging or anything like that that's kind of breaking that skull shape, that's where you want to make adjustments, okay? So that's it for this video. Let me know if you have any questions about anything that we went over. Thanks for watching, and happy modeling!